welcome to my channel. I'm Rosa Maria. Today we're going to learn how to make two different kinds of fabric holsters. This is a great project to use your scrap fabrics that you have on hand and to create beautiful gifts for your loved ones. This is a great project for beginners. It's very easy to follow through. So the two projects we're going to be working on, the first one is a checker pattern, as you can see here, and the second one is called the pinwheel pattern. So these are the two patterns, or I should say projects, that we're going to be working on. So why don't you grab all your tools and your materials and let's get started. Tools and materials needed for this project: you'll be needing some sewing pins, fabric clips. You can choose to use one or the other. This is a rotary cutter and this is a pair of scissors, some thread snippers, and also I have here a pointer to help turn the fabric, some thread, coordinating thread of your choice, and also you can pick and choose the fabrics you're going to be using for this project. I created here a template. I just took some file folders that I was not using and I created it by cutting 5 inches by 5 inches, and this template is going to be very helpful because it's going to help me cut all the fabric pieces to the size I need, 5 inches by 5 inches, to create this project. As you can see here, I cut all my 6 pieces of fabric by 5 inches by 5 inches, so I'd be able to create the check pattern. This one here I'm going to use as my base, and this is going to be my lining, and these two are going to be the squares we're going to be creating. Make sure that you iron all your pieces and remove any crease. And this step we're going to do is we're going to take our fabric and we're going to fold it in half and give it a nice good press. Do the same thing for this one. And I'm going to continue for these other two. Just make sure that it's folded. Once that is all 4 pieces folded, I'm going to take the lining and I'm going to place my base on top and make sure that is all aligned. I'm going to take this piece, make sure that the folded side is inside and the raw edges are on top. I'm going to take my other piece here and lie it flat like this. Again, making sure it's nice and flat. I'm going to take my other piece, line it up nice and flat. This other piece here, lie it nice and flat. And I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this bottom fabric so I can lay this down. And then place it here over. As you can see, this is how it should look like. I'm going to take one of my sewing pins and just want to make sure that it's nicely lined up. Corners, I'm going to do my best. And I'm going to pin this here in the middle. just to make sure that this part gets still. I'm going to take my clips here and clip all the corners of the fabric, as you can see me doing. Now that I finished clipping all four to secure it, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're going to be using 1/4 seam allowance to stitch all four areas. So let's go to the sewing machine. Make sure that you iron all your 6 pieces, remove any creases. Now I am going to take these 4 pieces here. The first one I'm going to fold it and iron it. I'm finishing ironing the last piece. I'm going to take the solid one, and the solid one is going to be the lining, and the one with the printed fabric here, I'm going to place it here on top, and that's going to be my base. I'm going to take my first folded fabric, and I'm going to line it up, as you can see here, the folding in and the raw edge lining up to the other raw edge of the fabric. And I'm going to start layering them. Take the next one, place it on top. Here we go with a third piece, and place it on top here. And I'm placing the last piece, making sure that the folded end is facing here. So now I'm going to just fold this out, pull this piece fabric and place this down, and put the fold right back on top. And I just want to make sure that everything is nicely even when it comes to the squares here. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pin and pin here in the middle to make sure that everything stays in the same place. I'm going to take my fabric clips and start clipping all around the fabric. And then we are going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're going to use 1/4 seam allowance. All here, all 4 corners here, we're going to stitch. So let's go to the sewing machine now. At the sewing machine, and we're going to be using a 1/4 seam allowance as I mentioned here, and I'm going to start to sew. And just a few back stitches. I'm at the corner here, and I'm going to tilt the fabric and continue sewing all the way down. Okay, making sure that this doesn't get caught. a little stitch. And now coming to here, I want to make sure that I align and back stitch, and then I'll just cut it. So we are done stitching all 4 corners. We finished stitching all around. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little thread snipper, and I'm just going to clip off some of the extra thread that is dangling out. I just want to remove them. These 4 corners here, as I'm going to be showing you, we are going to trim these corners out. Because it makes it easier to reduce bulk. And then I'll try to also just clip some here, as you can see in the edge over here. For me it helps. And try not to get too close and trim the threads. We want to avoid that. A little more here. Okay. Now that that's done, I'm going to open here and take one corner and use my fingers to push it out. And do the same thing for the other one here. Let me see. And push it out. Let me work on this corner here. I'm going to use my little turner here, my little pointer, to help me to get these corners out. Okay, see how nice it looks? And just remove some of this extra little fabrics over here. As you can see how nice it looks. Now I'm going to take my not my sewing machine. I don't know why I keep saying sewing machine, but I'm going to take my iron and I'm going to gently press. Get a nice press. And now you can leave it like this if you prefer, but I usually like to give it a top stitch all around to give it a nice finishing touch. So let's go to the sewing machine. Start stitching. Back stitch. Coming here to the end, tilt the fabric. We're coming to the finishing line and aligning to make sure we're able to stitch back. See how nice it is? Looks pretty. Here's our finished product for this square pattern, and this is how the back looks. As you can see, I used the printed sound as my base, and we're done with the first project. Now we're going to go and move on to the second project to make the pinwheel pattern. The pinwheel pattern, make sure again that you iron all 6 of your pieces. And now for this one, we're going to take this piece and then we are going to fold it, as you can see, like a triangle shape. I'm going to take my iron and give it a nice good press and continue with the other pieces. And my last piece here to fold. Okay. Now that I have all 4 of my pieces folded, as you can see, I decided to use my lining and my base the same solid color. You can choose whatever you prefer. I'm going to line them both up. And then I'm going to take my first folded piece and line it up. Take the second one and do the same thing. Trying to make sure I got it. Okay. And then I'm going to take this piece here. And I'm going to line it up, and then I'm going to take this piece over here, making sure I have it lined up. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to put this underneath and fold that part down. And then again, I'm going to take a sewing pin here and I'm going to pin here the middle to make sure that everything stays in place, it don't shift. And then now I'm going to take my sewing clips and just clip them around just to make sure that everything stays all nicely sandwiched together. I'm going to put one more here. Okay, and then again we are going to take it to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch all 4 corners to complete the stitching. Here we go, we're at the sewing machine, and a reminder, we're going to continue to use a 1/4 seam allowance. Back stitch. Coming to the end, one more little stitch here. Remove my fabric clip and continue. Turn. Make sure everything's okay. Turn again. to the end. And making sure, let me back stitch, I wasn't paying attention. Okay, now I'm making sure that everything is lined up. And back stitch. And here we go. Nicely stitch. Okay, so we're done, and I'm going to take my thread snipper and snip off all the excess thread that is sticking out. And again, this is how the back looks, and this is how the front looks. And now we are going to trim the corners. I'm going to remove this out of the way and do the same thing and just take my time. And try to remove some of the little extras on the side to reduce bulk. Okay, now that all those 4 areas are trimmed, I'm going to go through here and go to this first corner and try to poke everything out, and do the same thing for the other corners. Look at this corner over here. Okay, poke it out, and then I'll go to this corner over here and do the same thing and poke it out. Keep wiggling my way around. And push out all these corners out. Take my little pointer again and try to move all those little corners out. Move all this excess fabric pieces. And here we go. And I'm going to take my iron here now. I'm going to give it a nice press. Nicely press. And now we're going to take it to the sewing machine and do the same thing. Top stitch all 4 corners. Okay, now I'm going to start stitching. Back stitch. One more. Here we go. Okay, we're at the end. Back stitch. And we are done. We're done. As you can see, it's a little bit off. That's okay. Mistakes happen. You know, all you can do is your best and just keep practicing. Now I'm going to remove any excess thread that is sticking out. Just remove all this. I was looking for this this finished one to show you both. So this is what we have, and this is what we're done. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial on how to make these two fabric holster. One is a square shaped design and one is a pinwheel design. And the description box below, I provided all the materials and tools that you need in order to complete this project, and also where to purchase it. And if you do enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. And also, if you're not a subscriber, click on the subscribe button and also click on the bell. And when you click on the bell, YouTube will notify you every time I upload a new video. So hopefully I'll have a new project coming up that I can share with you. So take care.